Welcome to Central News for Monday the 18th of November. I'm Harriet Wilson. In today's news, a review of research evidence by US physicians says intensive training schedules and extreme endurance competitions can cause long-term harm to people's hearts and health. After the death of a 17-year-old male in a gym in Hamilton this time last year, clinical psychologist Dr. Joe Thacker believes more people need to understand the dangers and the psychology behind exercise addiction. Joe believes that often people don't recognise the addiction when it comes to exercise and instead view their lifestyle as healthy, but the consequences can be serious.
Well, the main problem with not exercising, that you have an addiction to exercise, is the fact that you will probably continue to put yourself at risk in some way. So, for instance, if you're going to the gym excessively, you might not be eating sufficiently well, you might be taking time away from other activities. So basically there'll be a lack of balance there in your life, either physically, psychological, or socially. So I guess that's one of the key things.
The New Zealand Parkour Association is holding their annual Ham Jam Parkour Gathering at the University of Waikato on the 7th and 8th of December. Parkour is a training method which involves overcoming physical obstacles efficiently and effectively. The Hamilton Parkour Club meets regularly to train and overcome fears while practicing consistent focus in their actions. President of the Hamilton Parkour Club, Damien Puddle, says the event is a great opportunity to share parkour with all sorts of people and will be a fun and entertaining weekend to attend.
People should come to Ham Jam, first of all, because it's free, but also parkour is a really new discipline training method that is really accessible to toddlers all up to pensioners. And the Waikato University is such a dense and exciting location. There's so many things for everybody. There's going to be introductory workshops to show you how to move, how you can explore the space, and there's also lots of opportunity for experienced practitioners to come along and to play around, to meet new people, and just to, I guess, find a new way to explore the environment and see things with a new set of eyes.
Hundreds of people took advantage of the first opportunity to inspect one of the major works in the Tauranga Eastern Link project, the Kaituna River Bridge, at its open day yesterday. People walked on, across and under the 186 metre long bridge from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday. As well as being given the opportunity to see Te Puke from the deck of the bridge, the open day also offered people a chance to get close to the earth-moving machinery being used in the construction of the 23-kilometre highway project. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, your Tuesday will bring long, fine spells with the chance of afternoon showers and light winds. Your expected high is 23 with an overnight low of 13. Tauranga, Tuesday will bring you long fine spells and afternoon sea breezes. Your expected high is 22 with an overnight low of 15. Just ahead, the new Jaws of Life. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. Saving lives on New Zealand roads is the goal for one University of Waikato mechanical engineering student. Andrew Gerbich has designed a hydraulic rescue tool which can be used as an alternative to the commonly known Jaws of Life. I went to find out what this could mean for rescue crews in the future. So what does your design do differently to the Jaws of Life?
So basically, instead of cutting the car apart like you would do with the Jaws of Life, we want to spread the car out, so pull the part of the car that's dented back out so that hopefully you can get the door open and you can retrieve the passenger without having to cut the car apart, which can be quite dangerous.
So what are some problems with the current method that's used?
So with the current method, they'll just come in and cut the roof off the car usually, but the problem is modern cars can have things like airbag tanks and high current electrical cabling and that kind of thing. And also when you cut parts of a car apart, the metal springs back and it's sharp and it can damage the people. It can also damage the firefighters who are trying to work on the car. So basically any way that we can get into the car without having to cut it to pieces would be safer for both people involved.
And how long did this design take you?
The actual designing took about 3 months, and then it took me 2.5 weeks to manufacture it once we got all the pieces ordered.
What stages were involved with the whole process?
So first I got the concept from my supervisor at Belcher Industries, and then I went through, we use a 3D modelling program called SolidWorks, which you basically just design everything and you can look around at the 3D model and that kind of thing, and then you make drawings from that, and then I fabricated everything from the drawings and tested it, and that's where we're at the moment.
And who sort of worked with you on the project and what was their involvement?
The only people other than me involved were my supervisor, who has to sign off on the calculations and stuff that I do because I didn't have my degree at that time. And I had a university supervisor, but they were just for the reporting and that kind of thing, and they mark off the work so it can be used as my course credit.
So when you got a final product, how did you then go on to test the machine and what was the result?
So we got a Rex car that had already been in a crash from a towing company called Brian Roberts, which is in the same town as Belcher Industries. They were nice enough to give us that for free, so we hacked the machine up onto the car and then basically just used the hydraulic ram to do some damage to the car, and it did the right kind of damage that we were looking for, so we just have to keep on developing it after that.
And have you approached any rescue services with the design?
We haven't shown the fire service this design yet because obviously you want to get everything finished before you go to them with it. But my boss actually used to work with the fire service, so that's where the concepts actually come from. Is something that they were looking for as well, so it should be something that we can present to them once it's finished.
And what do you plan on doing with your machine in the future?
Well, we're going to keep working on it. Obviously, this is just proof of concept at this stage, so you've got to keep on you've got to make some modifications so it'll actually do the job safely and securely every time, because people's lives are at risk, so you've got to keep everything really safe. So basically, we've just got to keep on making little changes to it, and then we can present it to the fire service, maybe take it to ANCAP in Australia where they have the crash testing for cars, and we can test it on their cars that they've wrecked in that way, and then hopefully put it on as a product that the fire service can purchase from the market.
Do you have any sort of idea of a time frame as to when your final product will be ready to present?
We don't have a finished date right now, but we're going to keep working on it. We can go back and there's just a few modifications that need to be needed, and then we get another car and retest it and see how that works, and then you can do things like put a crash test dummy inside the car and make sure that, because parts of the car, the steel bits will move around obviously when you apply that kind of pressure, and you don't want any of that going into the passenger bay, and so we just got to do things to make sure that doesn't happen, so it is actually safe to use in any kind of accident that you can come across. And you've also got to test it on different kinds of vehicles, because we've only tested it on one vehicle. You want to use different sized different cars, vans, that kind of thing, to make sure it's going to work for everything basically before you have the firemen carrying one around with them.
And have you given it a name?
We've been calling it the car spreader life-saving device.
So how did you actually come up with this design?
At Waikato University's engineering degree, we have to do 2 400-hour work placements, and so I did both of them at Belcher Industries. And the first one I was a trade assistant in the workshop, and the second one I was a mechanical engineer for them. And when I got there at the start of summer, my boss Kale says, look, I've got this design that I want you to work through, and we can use it for your final year project. And so basically he gave me the initial concept, because there are other hydraulic tools like the Jaws of Life that are being used currently, but basically nothing that works like this, and it should be a quicker and safer way to get people out. So he just said, look, we've got this concept, and then I went off and designed, did all of the concept sketches and the models and designs for it, and then built it basically.
And Andrew's prototype was just one of the many designs on show at last month's Carter Holt Harvey Pulp and Paper Engineering Design Show held at the University of Waikato. For more information, contact the University of Waikato's Faculty of Science and Engineering. Coming up next, the White Ribbon Campaign. Welcome back. After the great success of last year's BOP Tug of War, the event is being held again this coming Friday, the 22nd of November at Fraser Cove. The event will encourage people to join in on White Ribbon's anti-violence pledge. Hilary caught up with event organiser Graham Cameron to find out more.
On the 22nd of November at Fraser Cove here in Tauranga, we're having a tug of war event for local men to show their support for the White Ribbon campaign. There's normally 16 teams competing. Starts with a mayoral invitation team against the White Ribbon Riders, and then there's a competition to find out, who's the best team in Tauranga. Last year the winners were C3 from the port.
So who's involved with organising the tug of war?
There's a few different agencies. There is the Family Works Northern, which is part of the Presbyterian Support Services Network, the local TMAPS, which is the Tauranga Moana Abuse Prevention Strategy Group, and Fraser Cove Management are the three lead agencies on this, as well as Tauranga Safe Cities.
What is Fraser Cove doing to get behind the campaign?
Well, World's End are our really big supporters. They allow us the use of their sound system and the balcony, and big supporters of the tug of war. Then other shops, for example, Countdown, are putting teams in, and they're also supporting with prizes. So there's actually going to be a young person's basketball event just prior to the tug of war, and they're putting up some prizes for that as well.
Who are the Patriots Motorcycle Club?
Well, the Patriots Motorcycle Club have been long-time supporters of the White Ribbon campaign. They are from a whole variety of backgrounds, but they all come together around the same kaupapa, which is that they want to see our rates of violence against women reduced. So they're an amazing bunch of often rough-looking, rather exciting-looking men who use, I guess, their look and their bikes to bring that message home that that's for every man to be a part of reducing violence against women.
What is the pledge?
The pledge is that you won't condone or support or stay silent about violence against women in any setting.
Do we have a problem with family violence in the Bay?
Yeah, I think we have a significant problem with violence in the Bay and right throughout New Zealand. For example, each week in Tauranga, there's something around about 200 domestic violence incidences. That's over the whole Bay, and about 60% of those involve children, and around about the same figure involve alcohol as well. So, yeah, we have a violence issue, and it's an issue that's happening in homes, and this is one of the ways to get into talking to people about this stuff at home.
How do we stop that attitude of just accepting violence?
Yeah, I think that violence obviously operates at a whole variety of levels. It's how we discipline our kids, it's how we talk to each other, as well as, right to the extreme level of physically abusing, sexually abusing people. So I think that when we understand the broad reach of violence, then you begin to understand the scale of the problem, and it motivates people to do something about it. When we kind of bunch or put violence away as the problem of a few extremists, I guess, people who take extreme actions in homes, then we forget ways that we kind of condone violence right throughout the media and politics and society in general.
How can we see a better example for young men that are growing up now?
Well, the first thing is around the tug of war and these kind of events, the White Ribbon campaign, it's important for men to get involved because that is role modelling, this activism, really, in support of women. I also think that, at this time with the whole palaver around the Roastbusters and how young men are acting, I actually think that criticism and activism and action should be led by men. I think too often we leave it to Women's Refuge, to Shakti, and to Living Without Violence, who are predominantly run by women, to be the activists around violence against women. Actually, men need to be the activists around violence against women.
And it isn't just that stereotypical once we're warriors family, is it, that's involved with family violence?
No, not at all. It happens across all classes, across all types of family makeups, and across all experiences of life. Violence really isn't that worried about what you look like, what colour your skin is, or how many people you've got in your family. There are stressors for people in poverty, that mean that violence is more likely to be a risk there, but it's not exclusive to people in poverty. It's common in all neighbourhoods in Tauranga.
What should we do if we are experiencing or we know of a family violence situation?
Well, the first thing I'd say, if you see an act of violence, then remember the police are always available. So often people are a bit loath to ring 111, but actually the police are really responsive around domestic violence in particular, so do ring 111 in that instance. But then outside of those, where the act's actually happening, if you have concerns, there's a whole variety of agencies that you can ring, that you can go and see, that you can get online for different areas, different places, for different areas and places. So I'd really encourage people to go to the whiteribbon.org.nz, and it gives the links to lots of providers, including Tauranga ones, and get to know who the providers are that can support you.
Visit the White Ribbon website or their Facebook page for more information, whiteribbon.org.nz. Coming up next, targeting youth unemployment in the Waikato. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Waikato youth unemployment is being targeted by the new Future Force Action Network initiative, which hopes to provide young people with the tools and contacts to successfully enter the workplace. Mary Jensen is the regional manager of the network and spoke to me about the launch. So tell us about the Future Force Action Network launch and what went on.
That was on November the 6th, and we had 200 guests come along, which was amazing. We were very pleased with that. The guests range from employers. There are about 100 employers, so a huge amount of employers there, which was our aim. And there were probably about 30 to 40 tertiary and training providers, similar number of school people, such as gateway coordinators, and another group of stakeholders such as council, central, local government. So yeah, the aim was to get mainly employers there, because we believe the employers are the key to this problem. And we managed to do that through having the event at Gallagher's. I think that helped. It sort of gave the blessing of that it's an employer-led initiative. And so yeah, it was a great event. Went on for 2.5 hours. We had speakers. It was a fast-moving event. People moved around and networked and got to know each other better, and we really highlighted this problem of youth and giving more youth an opportunity in the workplace.
And what is the Future Force Action Network actually aiming to do for young people?
There are a number of objectives. One of them is to create awareness in our region of the fact that young people need more opportunity to get a start in the workplace. Another one is that we need to address the youth unemployment and skills shortage in our region at the same time to grow our own workforce in order to keep our young people here. They are the future, and we need people in our region who are engaged, who are learning, who are upskilling, who have viable occupations. The whole economy needs that, and the workplace does too. Time and time again I hear from manufacturers and engineers and so on out in our region that they can't find skilled staff. They have been getting them in from overseas, but they'd rather take people from New Zealand in many ways, because and a lot of them are training and have a pipeline of training going on. So that's what we'd like to see across the board.
How important is employer involvement with what you're trying to do, and who have you sort of got on board so far?
Employer involvement is vital because we require the employers to engage and to offer more opportunity to our young people and to connect with schools and tertiary providers at a time when young people are still hopefully training, so that it's part of that process. And the employers we have on board are huge, actually. We've got 150 who've signed up, and they represent 25,000 employees. So it's quite a good chunk of our region so far. And those employers include Fonterra, Gallagher, LIC, who's a big employer in our region, Wintec, the University of Waikato, who are also big employers, and many, many more.
So how are you selling this initiative to employers as being beneficial or helping them to make it possible?
We have a number of objectives, and there are a number of benefits for employers. The main ones are that they get to grow their own workforce, which is a great way, because then the young people are part of their culture, learn things their way rather than bringing in other learnings, which sometimes can be good, but it's often best to get the learnings while they're in the organisation from outside, so training and so on. The other benefits are that they're actually doing something really good for society and keeping young people in their region and giving something back to our community. That is something that most employers like to do, and obviously it is good for everybody, so there's that benefit as well. The other thing that employers have been finding, there is such a skills shortage that they've been taking people from outside the region and struggling to find people. So this is a way they can produce a pipeline approach to making sure that they have a future workforce in order to change with the times. The other benefit, of course, of young people, I could go on forever, but I think young people bring a certain vibrancy and energy to an organisation.
And why do you think that young people struggle so much to find employment currently?
There are a number of reasons. The main one is that we sort of went into a recession, as you know, and at that point people with experience, there are more around, and as such they possibly have gained precedence over young people in terms of getting work. Simply because they have a track record and they can be checked up on as far as referees are concerned and so on. So experience stands for quite a lot in this world. Alongside that is proven reliability about turning up to work and work ethic. Some employers have been burnt in the past by taking on young people, and unfortunately they need a lot of encouragement to step back into that arena again. The reasons we have, we did a survey of 280 employers at the end of last year, and the main reasons were about work ethic, attitude, punctuality, being untidy, there's drugs and alcohol as an issue, these sorts of factors that seem to have impacted negatively on young people. We're saying, give young people a chance. They want to work. We might need a little bit more time to help them get work ready, and use mentors and so on in the workplace to show, what works and what doesn't.
For more information or to register with the network, visit futureforce.co.nz. That is the news for today. If you have news, an event or something you think we should know about, you can email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz or like us on Facebook. Thanks for joining us. I will be back tomorrow with more guests from in and around the region. I'm Harriet Wilson. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.